Welcome off the console, the hottest new podcast that's all about gaming, tech, news, and anything nerdy. This week we're covering the biggest news items, including insert news item here. No, we're covering Valve's lives, deceptions, and assumptions made by CoffeeZilla, and we're also going to be covering a couple other cool topics, including the Ioneo 3's modular design, plus more, of course. I'm James, also the Brink, and I'm joined with by my co-host HiTech, and in spirit, Gardner. He was not able to make it here today because he has the COVID, and he's not
Yikes.
feeling well. Yeah, he is not feeling well at all. So
Yeah.
we're
He
gonna
said
let him
it.
off. We're gonna let him. Yeah, what?
Yeah, he said he's bedridden too. It's crazy, man.
Just because of that, we'll let him off this week. But next week, no. Of course, we want him to be here, and he should be all well and rested for next week's first episode of the year. So he will be missing the last episode of the year.
And our 10th episode as well. Well, this is our 10th episode, I mean.
Yeah, this is our 10th episode, which it's awesome that we've gotten here. I mean, it feels like we started this not that long ago. So yeah, thanks for being here with me today. HiTech. Let's start off with what we've been playing. What have you been playing, HiTech?
Okay. So I've been looking to get into a game called Me Side, which is like another Yandere simulator sort of thing. I think we talked about a few of those on the podcast. Didn't we?
Yeah, I can't remember if we talked about this one.
Not this one. I don't think so.
picked. Okay, this is one I picked up, and I plan on streaming in the next few days.
Oh yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I'm gonna pick it up probably towards the tail end of the sales. But I've also been grinding out on Marvel Rivals. I made it to gold rank because I just don't have a lot of time to play video games these days. I've been trying to make videos, trying to look into what's coming out next month, all that good stuff. And I've also got a bit of the sniffles right now too. I'm sure you can probably hear it right now. My nose is all stuffed up. It's not like Gardner where I'm bedridden, but yeah, I've got the sniffles. And Gardner himself has said that he's been playing Dangeresque, the Rumisode Triangulate, which is in the Homestar Runner universe. If you guys remember that.
Yeah, we talked about that towards the end of last episode.
Yeah, Gardner can do a really good strong bad impression.
Crazy good. I was shocked by that. He could have been the new voice actor.
He could be, yeah. He should. Oh my god, that'd be so funny. He should do it for his own videos.
He really should. Hopefully they don't go after him, but they're pretty cool curators. That's a game that I need to look into. I'm so overwhelmed by so many different games. I have been playing Stalker 2 and Indiana Jones this week. Have a little bit more free time this week. I was able to make a video this week. It's been a good week. Stalker 2 is fun. It feels more like it's on rails than Stalker 1 felt more open world and less on rails. This one feels much more on rails than Stalker 1 did, which is a little disappointing, but everything else is fun. We'll see if I end up finishing it. I'm sure I'll finish it at one point, but it's definitely not caught my interest as much as Indiana Jones, which plays it's first person shooter, or at least it's a first person. I don't know if there's any shooting going on. I haven't gotten that far, but it plays so well, and it's fun to play in. At least at the beginning, you get to play in a portion of one of the movies. I won't ruin it. You guys can play it, but it's very exciting. It is very fun. The graphics are good. Troy Baker does a great job impersonating Indiana Jones's voice. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw at the Game Awards, all of them were there. We had Harrison Ford. We also had Troy Baker and Todd Howard, and Todd Howard was the shortest one there, which I thought was kind of funny. I thought he'd be a lot taller. I don't know why.
No, well, Troy Baker and Harrison Ford are tall, so
That's true.
yeah.
That is
There's
true.
I can't even remember how tall Todd Howard or Todd Howard is, but the other two are well above 6 foot.
Damn. Damn, I want to be above 6 foot. That'd be cool.
I do too, but if you get too tall, then it comes with other issues, heart related. So I guess I'll be fine with my 5'10" self.
Damn. Well, that's okay then. Let's see. I guess I have to ask Gardner how
So
tall he is too.
I know now we have to, dude. That would be hilarious. It is just asking because we see so many people online, but like until you see them in person, you really don't know. And there's been a few where you're just like, you're much taller than I would have ever expected. Um, One of them, Markiplier, is like 5'10", I think 5'11". He's around 5'10", and his friends are like 6'5" or something like that.
Damn.
That one's crazy because they do a podcast, Distractables, and so they'll do it with a video, and once they were together, that was a shocking thing, was seeing them all together and how much shorter Markiplier is. It makes him look like he's 5'4" or something like that.
Dude, that's mean.
It is quite mean because I was like, wait a second, I don't think he's that short. Yeah, so well, I'm glad if we're none of us are. I doubt Gardner is 6 foot. He's got to be around 5 foot.
Dude, wait till Gardner shows up and he's like 7 foot. That'd be awesome.
Dude, then my oh my gosh, I can see him on camera. My perception of like all the objects in this room would be drastically different because they all seem normal size compared to someone that would be 6'5".
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so
But you know,
yeah.
so speaking of deceptions of size compared to objects in your room, Valve might be doing a little bit of deception themselves, a little bit of lying, a little bit of ruining childhoods of past. Let's just say that this has been a controversy that they've been wrapped in for a decade plus, from my understanding.
Yeah, so Valve has a lot of explaining to do, and at the end of the day, they hopefully will resolve this because the big topic for me is gambling, and it's because it is a very predatory thing, and I already don't like predatory practices by companies and stuff, but this is like gambling really hits the dopamine and like the addictive personalities of people to an extreme degree where they lose money, their lives, everything. It is, and I think Valve has more to do in this space. But let's talk about this HiTech. You watched the video. You're the one that recommended this, actually. What do you think of this?
So I think it's disappointing that this has basically overshadowed everything, with CS related. Because I mean, at the core, CS is a fairly sometimes, I mean, most of the time balanced game. It's basically like it's like the perfect like esports, so to speak. It's easy to watch, it's fun to play, and it's easy to understand too, in case you're someone that doesn't play CS. Like, I mean, you kind of understand. Like, you shoot,
Pew pew,
pew
you
pew.
die.
It's not Overwatch, I can tell you that much. But what I can tell you is that the skin market in CS is insane. For those that don't know, some skins can be like really valuable, especially the knife skins. Those can go for like hundreds of thousands of dollars if you actually pull one. And I mean, it sounds cool. It sounds cool. Like, don't get me wrong. If I got a CS knife, the first thing I'd probably do is sell it for real money and then get that sweet, sweet cash. But like, at the same time though, it's terrible that like so much like gambling and predatory behavior is hinged on the fact that Valve lets you trade items. Like, because every other live service game, like let's look at Valorant. You can't trade skins in Valorant, can you? Or most other games too. Hell, Rocket League used to have trading via Steam until Epic bought them and then just turned off trading altogether, if you remember.
AK just ripped it from Steam store.
Yes.
Unless you own Steam, unless you own the copy already, you can't play it on Steam.
And they disabled trading on the Steam copies as well, which is something that's worth mentioning. And it makes me wonder if, because I remember back in the day when live service games got released, I would always be kind of upset that none of these other games let you trade stuff. But now I realize that maybe that was probably a good thing, because like, imagine the shit that would happen if like you could trade in EA like sports, FIFA.
Yeah, here's my real honest take on this. Trading has been a thing forever. Diablo 2, I believe, had it. They had auctions, they had trading. I have no problems trading. That is on people to kind of corrupt it, right? So being able to trade skins in, whatever you pay money, you trade skin in for points or whatever and get more. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, Valve doesn't have, like, it's not really gambling. Trading is not gambling. What happens though is that people then want it, like the really prestigious skin, right? And then they go to a third party site, and then that's where they can buy those and then exchange it. Valve has shut some down. They've sent letters out to close some down. There's some, and this is my problem with CoffeeZilla. And I will get down to my problem ultimately with CoffeeZilla's whole thing going on is that he has to have big topics, and he has to keep on getting bigger topics, or at least try to. So he might not say this, but he even has skin in the game on this topic. He needs to make it sound like it's worse than it really is. Well, because it's Valve, it already hurts me to talk about this, but this video was all a little hard to watch because he did a lot of assuming and stuff like that. He's like, I've talked to people. Yeah, they have something else that they need that they're going to get from this, but no one here. Like, he even mentions it like that, but still, at the end of the day, he says Valve has all this money, they could shut anything down. Look at all the other stuff they've done. Well, if we're going to point out a case, like Pirate Bay is still a thing. That's been shut down almost multiple times, but it has roaming servers. It has servers that are able to go to certain countries and stuff like that. They have item masking and all sorts of different tactics that get away from being closed down, including peer-to-peer. So I don't think it's fair to say that it's as easy it'd be easy for Valve to close every single one of these down. What needs to happen is more regulations from government, in my opinion. Like, I want companies to be able to regulate themselves at times, but the companies will never be 100%, and you can never rely on companies being for everyone. So that's I guess all around it, my take on this is that Valve does have some ownership on this. The trading is not really that bad. People take advantage of it. People cause issues to then warrant it to be bad. But I do say some of the elements they need to get rid of probably in Counter-Strike Go in Counter-Strike that is, but Counter-Strike Go I think had slot machines or something like that. That's pretty messed up. I don't like that. I think they could get rid of that, right?
So the way you open up a case is that it pulls up like a revolving like window of cases, and like, oh, you get this really crappy skin, but you were just this close to getting the knife. Like, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, there's a visual.
Yeah.
The visual is completely unnecessary because it's not like physics based or anything. It's not like a roulette table, right? Not a real one anyway.
Is it a roulette? What is it again? Here's the thing. I've opened up cases in CSGO, and it didn't seem like anything like gambling to me when I did it a couple years ago, but I haven't done it in years.
It's like think of Wheel of Fortune. Like, you've seen that show, right? Wheel of Fortune, the game show. Think of like the wheel rotating and then it lands on a specific spot. And oh, you were in like, yeah, you were this too close to getting $1 million, but you got like $500 instead. Like, think of it like that almost. Like the
Yeah.
concept, the idea. And I think that whole visual is manifestly unnecessary because it's not like a physics based like interaction. It's not something that could actually
No, but
happen because like it's all calculated to begin with.
yeah, it's got a random generated system. I don't think it's unnecessary. It's like Overwatch has this, and I think some countries they actually outlawed the animation to make it like really exuberant, like super fun and everything to open up a pack. I'm fine with that. My problem lies within though is what are the drop rates? Are you going to be selling this to minors? I think that's where it needs to be. Is maybe remove it from minors altogether, and they just get free packs that don't have the animation every once in a while. My I don't necessarily want to take away the animations. I think they're fun, but I do think regulation needs to be in play with something like that.
I mean, I don't know, man. Well, like even with Overwatch, like one's loot box animations, like yeah, it's exuberant, it's exciting, but it doesn't pretend like there's a roulette table of like loot that you could have gotten. It just kind of opens up and you get 4 items, and it's all exciting stuff. Like you know what I'm saying, right? And
Yeah,
it's a good,
yeah.
yeah. And you did mention the Pirate Bay. It's an interesting point that you mentioned that yeah, a lot of much bigger companies and corporations have tried to take them down, but I think that case is a little different because like none of the material is actually hosted on Pirate Bay's own servers. All they really host are the torrent files. Because yeah,
But that's still if you got it can always almost be rebuilt because the torrent files are distributed everywhere. I get that. Blockchain could be similar. If they wanted to do these things with blockchain, that could be distributed in multiple places. Blockchain is very similar. I don't know if any of these gambling sites use the blockchain now, but what I'm saying is Valve could, but saying that Valve could shut down a company somewhere else is asinine and very naive of someone to think that. Like
for
it's
sure.
easy saying Valve could shut down a company, let's say in Russia right now, especially, right? And a lot of stuff could be in Russia. I wouldn't be surprised. Counter-Strike is massive in Russia. Massive. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the biggest players of the game is Counter-Strike. But, and if they host stuff over there, up until more recently, and it's probably, well, okay, up until when I lived there, you could go buy from a store, pirated games and stuff like that. They were cracking down on that more and more, but with everything that's happened the past few years, I bet you that's opened up again. And I only point that out because I bet you some of these gambling sites are over there.
I mean, it makes sense. I wouldn't look past that for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a. I don't want to say it's a piracy or an illegal activity safe haven, but I mean, it might just be.
What? So yeah, exactly. Well, here's my thing. I'm not trying to fully defend Valve on this. I think this is a much more complicated topic than CoffeeZilla brings up. I do think that Valve could do some IP tracking of the accounts that are making trades and how often they're making trades. And they could probably do some algorithmic work there and probably ban stuff. And I think they should. That's where they're failing at. The problem with Valve is they're a very small company. That's another thing CoffeeZilla doesn't take into account. They're a very small company. They have priorities, and when they're excited about stuff, they neglect other areas. Now, that's not a good thing. Valve needs to figure that shit out because that's really bad. But it's just kind of their mantras, how they kind of work. And case in point is, I'm treating this like I'm not a stupid lawyer. I'm not a lawyer or anything. I'm just freaking, I don't know why I'm thinking like this. But Team Fortress 2 had a major bot issue. They did not resolve it for years. And they have trading going on in that too. And there's a lot of reasons why the bots were there is because there were probably some gambling going on. So because so they'd use bots to farm items and stuff, and they'd sell them on markets. I think they squashed it there, but I'm not 100% sure. But they squashed a lot of the bots, and they opened up the game to the public, which is good. Meaning, I believe updates or at least servers can be run by the public more now. Valve has a lot of issues. They have a lot of growth issues. They have a lot of IPs. They do not grow very fast. They either need to hire some outside firms to handle all this stuff and if they don't want to grow too big for who they are, they're going to have to find a way to resolve this. And I don't think and not to just commandeer the whole topic and talk the whole time, but there's like daddy, oh my gosh, what's his face? Gabe, even CoffeeZilla calls him that, could do more than just buy super yachts. He has how many super yachts now? Like 6. So
wow, I want a super yacht.
Well, he's got a regular yacht. I think he's got 2. He owns 2 yachts, and then he probably has 5 yachts, super yachts, whatever. But he has like 3 in the make. One of them's a medical one. I'm sorry. When I learned about that, I was like, okay, Gabe, I love you and all, but fuck off. Go sell those yachts. At least you can have one. I'm down for you to have one, but use that money to actually take care of these problems. At least do something. That's where I'm kind of pissed off at.
Yeah. So Gardner put in the note. Yeah, he's not here with us, but Gardner contributes some notes. He says that he hasn't seen the video, but one of the things that annoys him about Valve is the gambling, because, in many ways, Valve is pro-consumer. And in many other ways, Valve isn't, because, yeah, especially with gambling in the games. And I'm gonna add to his point that Valve did kind of innovate in many regards to monetization in video games. Like, I don't think they came up with the concept of loot box that was imported over from the East, but they did come up with the Battle Pass, and it was called the Battle Pass in Dota.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Fortnite didn't come up with that, as much as Epic would like you to think it did.
I'll be honest, I'm okay with battle passes. I'm okay with loot boxes. I think they need to be regulated. I think we need to be more mad at our governmental officials. Europe at least does some of those. They do some. Europe and Australia have some regulations on those stuff, I believe. We don't. And it needs to happen more and more, especially since gambling is very predatory for young men, but also just young people, especially when you're honestly, gambling should probably be banned until you're 24, 25, until your brain's fully developed, because it is very, very damaging to brains of that period, because of the dopamine hit and all that. It gets very addicting. But I would like to see more action done on streamers, probably more than Valve itself. Like, streamers are big into gambling. I don't know if they do this type of gambling, but if they do, that might be a big one to hit. And there's other entities that are just drastically worse than gambling in the gaming world, but Valve definitely needs to save face on this.
Well, I do think Twitch should take action if they haven't already. But even then, but even then, they'll just go to Kick, and Kick is apparently gambler friendly, which is a problem.
Kick is owned by one of the biggest online casinos. They are owned by it. Kick was created so that there would be a platform in case Twitch completely banned it, which I believe Twitch has banned most gambling. Kick gives. And these casinos give these streamers money to throw, so they're not wasting their own money. And they even give them extra money because they're promoting their products. If you want to talk, like, this could be a whole podcast episode, a whole topic. If you want to talk about predatory things, like, and this is why this has warped my mind on this. Valve's the least of my worries with this type of stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's bad, but it is third-party stuff doing it. It's not Valve directly. We need to go after the third party. We need to have agencies that actually handle this thing properly. But we have major issues with Twitch streamers, or well, kind of Twitch, but I think, like I said, I think they banned it. I don't think they've re-allowed it, but kick streamers promoting gambling, and it's really, really bad.
Yeah,
Very
especially since you can go on and kick without an account. You don't even have to lie about being 18 plus. You can just go in there and like watch people gamble and all that stuff. You know, the only gambling I approve of is Balatro, and that's not really gambling.
Here's my thing. You can't ban gambling altogether. You can localize it like they've done with Vegas and some other places. I think it was actually smart concepts because people are going to do it. If you ban it, people are going to do it, especially with something like that where it's on face value or like on its face benign. It only becomes a real issue if you play into people's addictive personalities or you let it get out of control, which these companies are in the game to make as much money as they can. So, albeit it is regulated, it's not regulated enough. So
one of CoffeeZilla's main claims is that Valve themselves use loopholes that a lot of casinos use. Thoughts on that?
I don't even remember what those loopholes were. Because here's the thing. They don't own any of the casinos. They own the gambling directly. They have everything that has to do with the gambling, anything that has to do with money exchange, anything that's like that, that's the casino. Valve does not do any gambling. They don't handle any of the money per se. They don't have any money put into this. You have to trade items, get points to buy items on the market, all that. Like, they don't inherently do the same thing. This is my problem with this whole topic, kind of with the Valve thing. But they are complacent with the third parties, but that's still not fair to put all the blame on Valve. It is those third parties that are at fault. And also, government agencies are supposed to be handling this type of thing, and they need to be handling, if there's an outside force, like in a different country, coming in and affecting our youth or anyone with these things that are deemed illegal, they need to be handling it, and they're not. So this is, Valve needs to work on it. The government needs to work on it. But that's my thoughts on it. I don't know what the loophole is fully, though.
Well, I think what CoffeeZilla said was that the loophole was that you technically can't cash out for real money when traded via Steam in the market itself. You only get Steam credit, which, I mean, it's true, but at the same, and yeah, Valve does get a portion of the proceeds if you do it through Steam, like the Steam marketplace. Like, they take a certain percentage off, like, I don't know, like 5 or 10%, but that's besides the point. I mean, like, there's a very clear, like, a lot of these people would probably just do it outside of Steam anyways. Like, they don't trade Steam credits. You know, like, if you and I were to say trade, like, if I give you a knife and you give me $100,000, you'd probably send it over via PayPal, and Valve gets precisely none of that, correct?
Correct, but 5% is not too bad because there's credit card processing fees typically and all that. If that does happen, there's big transaction fees. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into that, but yeah, 5% still is.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
It doesn't look good on them. I agree. If they want to do one thing, would be potentially get rid of that. Would probably be a good start.
And I mean, yeah, you can't even take that much. Like, if you traded via Steam using Steam credits, you can't even take that outside. The most you could do with that money is buy a bunch of Steam games and maybe a couple of Steam decks too. And I don't know, if the Steam machines ever come back, maybe you can buy those too. I've seen a lot of people sell all their CSGO stuff for a Steam Deck.
I know, that is crazy. I have seen that too. That is crazy. Heck, I mean, I've done some trades in it just for fun, and I was able to buy. I think I just ended up with extra points. I was able to buy something stupid. I don't remember, but all I know is I agree with you. I agree with this. Like, this loophole kind of, it needs to be closed. Casinos use it, but I think they use it in a little bit different of a way. Where with Valve,
yeah, because like with other like live service games, you can't even trade. The most you can do to trade is, I guess, trading different accounts. And they'll ban you if they catch you trading accounts. Like EA will. Like I don't like giving props to EA for anything, but like EA will probably ban you if they catch you trading accounts with like EAFC, right?
So what's wrong with trading is my question. Like,
No, I don't have anything wrong with. I don't have any issues with trading in and of itself. I like trading. I like trading in like MMOs. It's part of the reason why MMOs are cool. I hate the fact that Destiny 2 doesn't have trading. It really pisses me off. But like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a complicated situation. I can't even begin to grasp the depths of it.
They definitely need to like verification steps and stuff like that. Like, I'm still down for doing if you want to trade, you need to have some type of ID, and that would help. Maybe even get rid of some of because I don't even know if we should allow people that can't drive to be trading. Like, that might be
absolutely
like you have to have a driver's license or a state ID to be able to trade. I'm all for that. I know there's a lot of libertarians that don't like that type of thing. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, this is software. This is like online. Like,
I mean, hell, real casinos, you need to pull out an ID too, unless you pass off for like being above 20.
I've been carded before. I don't know. I don't gamble really. I just go to those places to take advantage of everything else besides gambling.
For the free booze.
Nah. No, they have a lot of other like Vegas. I grew up near Vegas, so I'd go to like the M&M store. I'd go to like shows or like they have like concerts. They'll have everything else. I don't like the place I had to avoid the most is the casinos. I just don't like it. It's a waste of I just see it as a waste of time. But the margaritas are pretty good. Like, they have margarita stations everywhere, so you can walk around with a margarita, but like a tall ass margarita. But yeah, I think this could be better regulated. I think it really shows our geriatric kind of lawmakers how they really don't understand how this all works, and we need more youth in there. As far as what Valve could do is that they could just implement an ID system and at least start from there. That would help probably squash a lot of third parties. I do think that Valve does benefit from those third parties, which also makes them look bad. They don't need the money. Valve doesn't need the money. And that's why I point out Gabe Newell has a bunch of super yachts. That makes you look even worse. So it's already tainted his image by doing that type of stuff. I don't like it. It's unfettered consumption, and it just doesn't look good. As far as anything else on this topic, or you like anything else you want to say?
Not particularly, but I will say that gambling is bad, and Japan also has a similar loophole with their gambling, because technically gambling is outlawed in Japan. But you know what they do with pachinko parlors? Instead of giving you money, they give you something that's meant to be sold to a different store that in turn gives you money for that. And that's how they get away with it.
Yeah, that is. There's so many loopholes. You're always going to find loopholes. You're going to always have people doing it like speakeasy kind of style stuff. Like, it's just going to happen. You're going to have to let it happen on the smaller levels. You just need to make sure that you regulate the bigger problematic areas that just been popping up, and we have not been handling that very well. While Japan does have that issue, and they do have some major issues surrounding that and some other things, I still don't think it's as bad as this, where it directly affects the youth. And the earlier you get into gambling addiction, the worse it is for you. It is rewires the brain. It is just as bad as if they were, doing anything else that was brain altering. So I'm not fully against gambling, but I myself do not like gambling. I don't think it's worthwhile. If they went away, I'd be happy. but I'm definitely against it being promoted in any way or being accessible by any way by anyone that's under a certain age. 100%.
Well said.
What I'm totally for though is the Star Fox 64 port. If it's true, what is going on with the Star Fox 64? It's a fun game. What's going on with this port?
So, do you remember the Ship of Harkinian, the Ocarina of Time port for PC?
Yes.
Those guys made a Star Fox 64 port for PC.
Oh,
Gardner said he's played it for his last video, and that it works great. It's awesome. It's very neat. All of that stuff. I haven't played Star Fox 64 in a very long time, but all I remember is that if you want to get into the hard mode route, you have to save Falco in the first mission, because 100% of the time he will die, or at least get destroyed in the first mission. I don't know, but
barrel roll. That's what I remember.
yeah. Essentially, it's a PC port of Star Fox 64. It runs at 60 FPS. I think it actually runs higher, depending on if you have a higher refresh rate monitor. I'm not entirely sure, but
It runs at 60 is what you said?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
What'd you say it runs at?
I think it runs at 60 FPS, because the N64 version definitely didn't run at 60. Not that I remember.
No, it didn't. But back then, I can't remember what system does this, but they base their FPS on their CPU cycle. So if you don't limit it to like 34 or 60 or something like that, you're going to end up making the game go a lot faster. I can't remember if N64 does this though. So I'm assuming since it's a port though, they can control that though, and they'll emulate the CPU. A lot of stupid decisions were made with concerning games and hardware back then. I've played the Mario 64 port for the PC. That thing is awesome. Haven't played Ocarina of Time port, but Star Fox 64 actually really sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, you do need your own copy of Star Fox 64, or at the very least your own ROM. It's USA Revision 1.1, Revision A. I know a lot of people don't know about this, but even back then, they had updated releases of games on cartridges. Some cartridges are different from others, and not just regions too. You know, some revisions, they fix bugs and all that stuff. So you got to make sure you got to get a copy of Star Fox 64 that's 1.1 Revision A. And then you need to convert that to Z64, and then you need to essentially not quite build the game, because the build process is kind of automated with the way they have it set up. But that's basically it. Yeah.
I love these types of things, these types of projects, because this is really good for game preservation, right? And so I'd love to see this happen more often. And I'd love to see game companies starting getting into the game of actually wanting to preserve stuff. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of it happen. I mean, we're starting to see I think they have a Jack and Daxter port that's available on PC as well. Like, they essentially reverse engineered it as well. Same. I don't want to say exact same process, but like a very similar process, I would say.
Interesting. I'll have to dig into that. I'll have to dig into the source code and see how they actually do that, because probably have to have some emulation baked into it. Yeah. Anything else on the Star Fox 64?
Apparently it runs well on Steam Deck. So if you have a Steam Deck and you want to run it, you can do it there. There is no.
What is the port over as an exe file, like an executable?
Yes, the port exists there's only a Windows version of the port. The source code is available in case you want to, say, compile it for Linux or whatever, but I don't think I've seen anyone do that just yet.
Well, the compiler for Linux could usually comes down to libraries being used, and so as long as everything's compatible with Linux, then and you have the right libraries and dependencies, then you should be fine. But I don't know what dependencies they have.
Yeah, I have terrible luck with trying to build software on Linux. So, like, yeah, it is what it is.
The problem with Linux is that there are so many flavors. It's so fragmented that it's like with Windows, you have Windows 11. You have some libraries and some dependencies that you might be missing that you can download, but beyond that, you kind of know what to expect. With Linux, is an open box. Like, unless you really know what you're doing, it's a little bit of a nightmare. But typically, building stuff should be like fine depending on what type of programming language it is. Let's say if it's Rust, they usually do a pretty good job of multi-platform support. But once again, this is probably like C++, so that gets a little hairier.
We shall see. But in the meantime, well, let's look if there's any other. I'm gonna look this up. Let's look this up. Let's see. Reverse engineered PC ports.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We're doing some live investigations on.
So there is a decompilation of a couple of games, like Super Mario Bros. The original. I don't know if you really need that, given how good emulation is these days, especially with NES games. But you also have stuff like The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, or Super Metroid, or Super Mario World. Then you have Doom 64. Oh yeah, let's see, Ship of Arcanian for Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Oh yeah, the Perfect Dark port. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out like earlier this year too, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
And then let's see what else. I mean, I think someone was decompiling Metroid Prime as well, though I don't know much about. Oh, there's also Sonic 3. Like, remember, Sonic 3 also has a really good port in the form of Angel Island Revisited. If you
Interesting.
So
I don't know that one.
So
I know the old Sonics, like 1 and 2. That's about it for Sega.
So Angel Island Revisited is essentially, think of it as like a fan remaster of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It's widescreen.
Oh, okay, Sonic 3.
Yeah, it's widescreen and all of that good stuff, and it's also heavily moddable too, in case you want to mod it with like Sonic Mania graphics, which is something I've seen people do.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of cool stuff. I can't go over all of them, and honestly, the list that I have probably isn't definitive, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't play these ports typically very much, or like I own some of these games too, but like Mario 64 is fun. Everything else, I just have so many other projects on my plate that I'm going to play them. But like I said, I love seeing them as preservation, people's hobbies. I love seeing this type of stuff. I definitely want to see more of this happen. This next topic is a War Thunder tradition. Classified military documents leaking on their forums. This is a weird topic. What's going on here, HiTech? Right.
So every now and then, people who play War Thunder will get into arguments about tank balancing and also like how they should function in real life. So much to the point where classified military documents get leaked on their forums. And this isn't the first time it's happened. It's not even the second, third, fourth, or fifth time it's happened. It happens like clockwork. It's insane that this even happens to begin with. Damn, we should have gotten Russ to be a guest. I could have asked him about this.
That would have been good. And here's the thing: there are even people that have gone to jail for this type of stuff.
Well, yeah, of course. And this is the kind of stuff that'll get you thrown in jail for, I don't want to say life, but for a really long time.
Depending on how bad it is and everything, it could be a very long time. And longer than it should ever be, honestly, depending on what the league is. But yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on, it's crazy that
it's crazy that these War Thunder, like, they must be part of the military or something, or they must know a guy that's in the military. I mean, there's no way that you can even get access to these classified documents without, like, being someone in the military. And not just, like, being someone in the military, being someone in the military that either works on the tanks or knows a guy that works on these tanks, too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't even remember who the dude is, but there's one guy on this forum. It was this forum. He went to jail a few years ago because he got an argument, posted classified, but I don't know if it was game related. I think it was game related. It might have been Discord or somewhere, but yeah, he went to jail for a pretty good long while because he posted classified documents, released secrets. He proved his point, which is, I'm sorry if you're doing that. Maybe you need to go to jail, partially just to save like society from you. Because if it's so important for you to win an argument that you have to go to the stupid levels of like doing something you should know is very illegal, I don't know if there's any. I don't know if I want you on the roads. It's a little harsh, but.
And I'm sure this leaked information may get someone killed one day, let's be honest. So
That's usually, especially back in the day, usually the problem because it'll have like weaknesses for tanks. Let's say in this like tanks, weaknesses, design flaws, other things that could be very detrimental. Other classified secrets could also be locations of individuals, spies, whatever it is. It could be another thing. Like there's reason why documents are classified. I get that. But if there is, I will have to say, if there's no real like danger, then I need to play and keep it for that like document, even if it is classified. Then I think that needs to be put into play when sentencing. I think the military is a little too powerful in this in this type of thing. But at the same time, if you're dumb enough to just compromise yourself to do this, to win an argument, I don't know if you need to be in society.
So I will say this actually isn't for a tank. This is for the Eurofighter Typhon. And it's a so it's a NATO. It's a NATO jet. And it's partly UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And those are the guys that usually use this. And oh man, I don't know, man. So they have banned the user in question, and they've also removed the offending material, in this case, the classified documents. And yeah, they said that you should never share documents unless they have been 100% legally declassified and publicly safe for use. I don't know how long it takes for a document like this to be declassified, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen in our lifetimes, right? Not like copyright.
That's part of the problem. Sometimes they won't declassify these. It just depends on what it is. Like, even though like this fighter could end up being decommissioned for years to come, they might not declassify them. It just really depends on the military. This one is, I think, it's a multi-country jet, but it could be. It's probably owned by maybe a contractor or one of the countries, more or less. So who knows? It could get. At the end of the day, they're using it to like try to win an argument, and that it doesn't matter. And not. This is a good topic. It's stupid that they have to use this to try to win an argument. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's very different. Like, gameplay balance and like actual capabilities of like military weapons are very different, because like, let's think about it. How many weapons in Call of Duty are actually accurate to like their actual weapon like classifications?
They're not, but Call of Duty is an arcade shooter. Some of these other games try to be more simulators, and so I get that they want to get as close as possible, but you're just never going to get 100% there unless you have the government making the game itself, which our government has been involved in games before, partially for recruitment, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think America's Army is the name of the game.
It is.
We should ask Rusk about that. Rusk about this if we get him on again.
I agree with that. That'd be very interesting to see if he has any insights into that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that if I was this game company, I might even just close the forums unless they really think it's going to provide enough to keep people playing the game. I mean, as long as they're moderating it well enough, it's not on them and they're purging everything, but they could be in trouble if they don't handle that too. So,
I mean, I think they did a pretty good job. They banned the guy swiftly and also deleted the offending documents.
Agreed. But they could end up going the bow brow, ignoring it eventually.
Okay, I think it's a little different when you have literal military classified documents. I don't think even Valve could ignore that.
I think you'd be shocked what Valve can ignore. They'll try not to, and they have a good legal team, but I'm just saying they have a lot of issues on their forums going on right now that they're not handling very well.
That's fair.
That being said, a document like this, I'm sure there's got to be flagged with stuff in their systems for this, but all I know is advice to everyone: do not. Sometimes winning an argument is just not worth it. Here's the thing: especially if it's an online forum, just leave. Just leave the forum. You'll never meet that guy again. You'll never see that guy. Whatever. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your health to try to win, even your freedom, to win an argument. What's this next topic? This one's an interesting one. Multiverses. You're okay with me moving on?
Yeah,
Multiverses uses actual audio from Charlie the Unicorn to advertise game without permission. This one, I don't know how this got past their lawyers.
Evidently, all we know for certain is that the video in question was taken down. We could play it, but we could also play the actual Charlie the Unicorn. I haven't seen that in years. Holy crap.
It's been years, and it's definitely, I don't think we need to play. I think people have good context, but yeah, just go look up Charlie Unicorn on YouTube and you'll get context for this.
Coming out, Charlie.
Oh, you're promoting us with that. Oh, we're getting taken down now.
Ah, man. Fucking WB.
But it's the actual audio from Charlie Unicorn, which is crazy that they did that. That's like not fair use. That's specifically not fair use, right? And so
yeah, it's one thing if you do it and you credit the author, or not even credit, but pay him, pay the guy that made Charlie to begin with.
That's what you have to do. This is the copyright thing. They have to pay them or get they don't have to pay them. They have to have permission to do it. So I'm hoping that the creators of Charlie the Unicorn get a fat check from this. I have a feeling that Warner Brothers is probably going to settle pretty quickly because they know that that this is going to be a problem, and why take it to even court at this point? Like they should be just settling as quick as possible.
Yeah, and speaking of WB, there's some more games being delisted, Cartoon Network games, and it's some bullshit. Fucking WB. People say Ubisoft is dying, but look at WB.
WB has been dying for decades. They're just a prime example of the TV and movie industry. They themselves have hit that kind of capitalistic edge where they acquire and then they're kind of failing. I think we're hitting that with AAA publishers and stuff like that, where they're hitting their edge to where now they milked the cow so much that now it's just starting to die.
Yeah, for context, Cartoon Network is owned by WB. I don't know if you didn't know this or not, but it had to be mentioned.
Yeah.
So WB, that's good. Yeah. So WB has been doing a lot of dumb shit over the years. Like let's look at the DCEU, right? Like have you seen Man of Steel or Batman v Superman or not the Suicide Squad? Sorry, Suicide Squad, the first one with Will Smith.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have you seen the fiasco that was the Justice League, followed by Zack Snyder's The Justice League?
Yeah, I don't know. The DC universe is already a hard thing to make a movie on. I'll be honest. Like, it's hard. They're a little bit more black and white, and it's harder when you do that. But yeah,
Man, there's so many missteps too. There's also the fact that WB patented the Nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor. Remember that?
yeah, that's why I hate game patents.
And also,
So much.
and also on the topic of multiverses, remember when they released multiverses like a few years ago, and then they took it down, and then they brought it back, even worse than it was before?
I have yet to touch it. I probably will never touch it, partially because of that, and also it just doesn't interest me. There's so many other games I'd rather play.
Yeah, and then they also delisted a bunch of Adult Swim, like games published by Adult Swim, too. That's another fiasco.
Yeah. So Samurai Jack, Steven Universe. Steven Universe is an Adult Swim though, right?
No. So Adult Swim had their own like publishing label where they would publish games that are.
Okay.
They publish games like they're like an indie publisher. They publish games that are unrelated
Yeah.
to their Adult Swim properties. Like I think Duck Game was one such a game. And,
Okay.
and Ghost Song as well. There's a couple of them that are actually pretty good.
I don't think I'd realize that. Interesting.
And then you have these Cartoon Network games like Samurai Jack, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, a bunch of other stuff too.
So is this delisted means you could play these online, or are these like actual games what does the delisting mean on this?
So these are Steam games and also console games.
Okay.
So if you bought them already, they're in your library forever. They hopefully can't take those away from you. Otherwise, there'd be some serious issues.
I don't think they can. I don't think Valve has ways to do that actually.
But yes, but essentially you cannot buy them anymore. Like they're already gone.
Why delist something that could just at least make you some money? I don't get that. I don't think it cost them anything to have that listed.
Well, why cancel a movie that was basically already complete? Like the Batgirl movie. There's only one reason for that. Tax credits, tax breaks.
So yeah, that's tax. Well, that, and it was probably going to not do well, but it was going to do so bad they might as well just cancel it, right, and get the tax credits. Get write-offs and stuff. And Hollywood, like WB, Hollywood accounting is an infamous system for doing this type of thing, which is pretty nasty. But I don't know if removing a game like this actually could count towards that kind of taxing system. I don't think removing it saves you anything. I don't think it does.
I don't know, man. They haven't released too many good movies either. I mean, I will be fair. They did release the Dune movies, which are very good, excellent movies, by the way. You should watch them if you haven't already. But they've also
released some good stuff, but
yeah, sometimes they still release like good movies, but these days they tend to release more stinkers. To be honest, like the Matrix Resurrections. Man, oh my god,
I haven't even watched them yet. I don't know if I can.
The new one or like the old ones?
I watched the old Matrix. I love them. The new ones, I just don't. I might watch them one day. I just not a priority for me. We're kind of in this really weird spot with media, and I've mentioned this multiple times, but both game companies and also movie and TV show companies they're running out. They're trying to play this. Like we have plenty of ideas, I believe. Like we have plenty of shows that will pop up that they're great. I think League of Legends, albeit it's based on a game, is a great series on Netflix and really shows that like you can still make great things. It's just they're trying to choose safe routes and they're just screwing themselves over. And I think they're going to kind of fail at the end of the day. And rare fit.
Do you think
We're going to see? Yeah.
Do you think WB realistically could die? I mean, they're owned by
Yes.
AT&T.
Yeah. They could die. I think any one of these companies could die. That being said, will they become more of a ghost company? Probably sell IPs off or close things. Yeah. There's a lot of things they can do to save value and save themselves. But I think they're going to have to go through a lot of hurt. And unfortunately, a lot of that hurt is going to be passed down to the workers. So,
Yeah. I just want to rant about The Matrix. So it was directed by one of the Wachowskis, who, they were the original directors for the Matrix franchise. But this was a real stinker. Like, the action just isn't very good. Like, I feel like, okay, hear me out. So what are your thoughts on Zack Snyder as a director?
fine, I guess. I don't know if I have any what other stuff has he done? I can't remember.
So he's done 300.
Okay, so that I mean that's a banger.
Yeah, he's also done the Watchmen movie.
The movie's a banger.
Yeah, he's also done Batman v Superman and Man of Steel.
I actually liked Batman vs Superman. It's one, even though it's super convoluted, and he's okay now. Yeah, he's crazy for trying to piece that together the way that was pieced together, but it was still a fun ride.
And he didn't do the Suicide Squad, the really bad one. I think that was Ayers something. I forget his name, but whatever. Now, hear me out. What if Zack Snyder has a penchant for slow-mo action? I feel like Zack Snyder could pull off a Matrix movie.
Yeah, I think so. The problem is he's very bad at piecing things together in a convoluted way, in my opinion. But beyond that, I think it'd be a fun ride.
Yeah,
Which is
just have
ultimately
him,
what I want.
yeah, have him be the choreographer and direct the action scenes, and have another director direct the other important stuff too.
Here's my problem. The Matrix is not a very easy world to make additional things in. I think it's done. Them trying to resurrect. I usually want more of what I like. I usually am this way, but The Matrix is not actually a universe I want reopened because it was already starting to get messy with the last movie that they made was already didn't do well. I thought it was fine. I liked it, but it was already kind of a mess. And so it's weird that they dipped back into that universe when it was obviously going to be super risky and obviously they did a horrible job. So,
Oh yeah, speaking of which, the Joker 2. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard it's a mega stinker.
I hear it's going to be one of those ones where some people like it later, but I didn't see the Joker one. I don't like the premise that was kind of behind it with what people were doing with the Joker. I just don't care.
That's fair enough.
I like traditional Jokers more. I like Jokers in the Batman games are fun. I'm here for a more comic based Joker and not this sympathetic in some ways Joker. I don't know. I haven't seen the movies. They don't.
And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And what was the last movie they released this year? Lord of the Rings: The War on I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's an anime though. It's an anime movie though, which is unusual.
WB has some anime stuff that they do. They also are doing the Isekai,
Suicide Squad Isekai.
Suicide Squad Isekai. Yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah,
I've seen a couple episodes. It's actually kind of a fun ride. That being said, it's also really, it's a fun ride. I'll say that. I don't know if I like it or not yet, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did you know the old Hobbit movie, the old animated Hobbit movie from the 70s or whatever?
Yeah.
It was animated by the studio that would eventually become Studio Ghibli. Actually.
And really, I did not know that. That is really off topic,
Yeah.
but that is very fascinating. I'll be honest, that animation is kind of creeps me out, but I did watch it as a kid.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Now you have me looking it up.
Crazy fun fact.
Let's if you're okay, let's move on to the graphics bubble is popping.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm really curious about your takes on this one. Build up this build this up. Well, why is the graphics bubble popping?
So essentially, a lot of developers are expressing concerns that video game budgets are ballooning out of control and that games cannot afford to look this good anymore, essentially. Let's think that's here's the quote. Eastmail is worried that major studios are in a tight spot where traditional games have become too expensive, but live service games have become too risky. He pointed to recent games that have had both jaw-dropping realism, Avatar: Frontiers of the Pandora, and Senua's Saga: Hellblade 2, and lackluster sales for both.
So Gardner says photorealistic looking games are overrated anyways, and the best way to move forward in my book is to make hyper stylized games. Also limit the budget to less than 5 million would make sense. Limit the investment, limit the risk. So yeah, I partially agree with Gardner on this. Here's where I diverge. Photorealistic games, you have to take into play what you're making as a game. If you're making, let's say Last of Us, I would say that's photorealistic to a point. It still has a little bit of stylization to it, but it is photorealistic and they try to make the world feel very gritty and realistic. There's a whole ploy, there's a whole point to those types of graphics. When you're trying to make something look kind of realistic for just the point of making it realistic, you're losing the point. You need to make sure that your game loop, the base game, how it plays, what you're doing is good. This is where we're kind of failing. And these companies can say all they want that it's this, or this, but it's ultimately the top dogs, especially for AAA, that are failing these games. I don't think it's the developers really. I think it's the people that shouldn't be involved in the decisions, like live service action. Like we know that live service games are influenced by the top dogs, right? It's like the directors, the C-level execs are saying, we want this because this is what's doing well over here. And they're gambling is what they're doing. They are gambling instead of doing investments and diversify. So when you're investing in companies, when you're investing in the stock market and stuff, you do diversified portfolios. These companies typically do that, but they're putting they really are gambling with their money when they put $500 million bets on games. I think it's silly, and that's where I kind of agree with Gardner. I think 5 million in today's world is really small, though. I don't think that's realistic. But I do think, depending on what the IP, if the IP deserves more, let's say, if it's a Halo game, I don't think it needs to be as high as it is, but it definitely should be limited more, but it should be higher than some other games. But they should take that money that they saved by not putting it all into Halo and diversifying and creating some new IPs and some new jobs and stuff. I definitely think they need to diversify more.
So here are some budgets for Sony AAA games. We have Crash Bandicoot, which had a budget of supposedly $1.6 million, which is kind of crazy to think about even back then. But I mean, I guess $1 million is just not money.
That's a lot back then. You could probably, because of how money runs today and inflation, you could probably see that as more like 3 or 4 million. But with I'm sorry I cut you off, but it's also easier back then, technically. Maybe not technically, but it was easier to make games, especially on Rails games like Crash Bandicoot, in the sense of that directions, they don't go too complicated. They're not graphically intense, but they couldn't be back then. So I think this is a very interesting thing that we're going to have a lot of debate about. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
So the first Jack and Daxter game had a budget of 15 million. And then Jack 3, the third game in the Jack and Daxter trilogy, had around 45 to 50 million dollars as part of their budget. And then The Last of Us Part 2 had $220 million as part of its budget. And then Marvel Spider-Man 2 had a budget of about 315 million. So
Okay, so part 2 didn't do as well as part 1 because of the controversy of people just being stupid and being caught up on like
yeah, I remember
really stuff. But
this is gonna be my hot take. But the moment they announced Ellie was gonna be the main character, I predicted Joel would die. And I mean, it's like something like it's like an elementary school like prediction. Like, and people were still upset that Joel fucking died. Like, dude, he was gonna die.
yeah, I was gonna say like he's not really the good like. That's what makes this game so good. And like, if you have issues with this, then it's probably not a game for you because he ultimately kind of did a bad thing at the very end of The Last of Us Part 1. He killed a bunch of people. Ellie said she wanted to go through with it. I'm not going to spoil the ending fully, but it was, I will give this, it's a great area, but he still kind of did a bad thing. You build up enemies from that type of thing. And so it makes sense a little bit of how part 2 goes, but part 2 goes a little too hard sometimes. And that's part 2's story gets ruined a little bit for me because of that. Because I don't like, it's the Moby Dick kind of style of stories. Pursuing something to the detriment of yourself to pretty much killing yourself. So, or not really, but like catching,
Revenge bad.
Revenge bad. And, yeah, that's kind of what part 2 is, but 220, like, here's the thing. Last of Us 1 proved that it should get a bigger budget. I'm okay with The Last of Us having that big of a budget. I'm kind of curious where the budget goes though. Sometimes a lot of that goes into marketing, which I really wish we could get away from so much money going into marketing because it's really not, it does not help the game very much. It helps promote it and make sales. I get that, but I'd rather it go into the developers more than into marketing.
Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, though, you see companies like Coca-Cola and like Oreo, like those products are ubiquitous. Like everyone knows what Coke is, right? But at the same time,
they still market.
They still market, yeah.
Well, they'd have to because every time if I see a Coca-Cola ad, it makes okay. Yeah, well, I want some Coca-Cola. I love Coca-Cola. It gets you thinking about it. But the last of this part, video games. It's good to advertise it, but it's good to honestly, they do better by just promoting it on stream with streamers and through less traditional avenues because that's where gamers tend to be more. So their marketing strategies are also a little bit like not great when it comes to games, as opposed to Coca-Cola, where everyone drinks Coca-Cola. Not everyone's a gamer.
Yeah, like I could see a marketing strategy like this work for like Pokemon. Pokemon's a family-friendly franchise, and some people do.
Yeah.
And like normal people play Pokemon, not like core game, like more than core gamers play Pokemon. So we'll just say, like,
yeah, even so, like that's you'd be shocked at how much money they put into marketing. And marketing's just out of control, in my opinion, on how much it costs. But the reason why this is kind of a little bit of a topic for me is Dead Space 3, like kind of a source topic that is. Dead Space 3, essentially, like it failed because they got too much input from the top down, but they also, half their budget was marketing. And the problem with Dead Space is that it is a very, it had a cult following. The marketing did not, if they wouldn't have marketed, they probably would have sold just a little less than they did. So they would have came up on top and made a lot more money than they actually lost. I think they lost a little bit because they spent so much of their money. Like bare minimum, I can use at least a third of their budget on marketing, which is crazy for a franchise that didn't need to be marketed that way. So that's kind of my point. And because of it, I'm a huge Dead Space fan. The franchise has suffered since then. I think Jack 3 was a better game. I think Jack 3 was a pretty good game. Like upping the to 45 million, I think was decent. Like what I'm seeing, like, and like Spider-Man 2, 315 million, I do think is a little ridiculous, but it's proved itself to where you could get a bigger budget. I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I also like I agree with it, but I also like in the sense of like it's kind of deserving of the budget, but because I don't think it's as much of a gambling risk. But I do think, like what Gardner says, I think it needs to be rolled back quite a bit. It needs to be reduced down to maybe 100 million. That's what they deal with, and they just have a smaller team or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like I think Spider-Man is perfectly fine. And I mean, a photorealistic Spider-Man looks cool, but I did think of stylized. Like, imagine if they did it in like the Spider-Verse art style. That would be
Spider-Verse.
that would be sick. Like, okay, to be fair, I
To be
think that would
fair-
be even more expensive than
I was gonna say,
photorealistic.
you really like, okay, here's the thing. Photorealistic is actually probably cheaper than doing super stylized. Because then you have to get a lot of artists into play on this. When you do photorealistic, you already have a lot of assets at play that you can utilize, depending on what engine you use and all that. So it's hard to say. I think some of the photorealistic stuff can be expensive, but I think it's just convoluted games. Like they're big, like not convoluted, but complicated games. If it's open world game, it's gonna take forever. If you want more detail, like gamers demand more detail. That's the thing. Like I think gamers. I think where Gardner's point is gonna fall flat a little bit sometimes. If Grand Theft Auto was given a $5 million budget, do you think gamers are gonna be happy with that game that they're gonna make? I don't think so.
Hell no. I think Grand Theft Auto at minimum is going to have like $1 billion budget, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At least the thing is that they have a cash cow with GTA 5 that they keep on making money, so they can keep throwing money. I'm fine with that. Like I'm fine with them throwing more money to build it, like as long as they have the money. But if it fails, it's just a bigger risk.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure. I don't see. I mean,
I-
I don't see GTA 6 failing, but yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Even if it was bad, people are still gonna have fun with it. Yeah, I don't. It's too big to fail. Um, but I do like Gardner's sentiment on this, though. Budgeting and diversifying. I really do think I sell with him on that. I'm gonna put a little end to this unless you have something more to say. I don't think the graphics bubble's popping. I think they're gonna find that graphics are important and style is important, but it needs to be done in the nature of what's best for that game. What kind of game are you making? What makes sense? The Last of Us should be photorealistic, but Jack and Daxter, let's say, should not be, right? It's going to be stylized. Marvel's Spider-Man should be more stylized than photorealistic, right? So it really, they need us, what they need to do is prioritize art direction. And maybe that's ultimately what it is. Make sure that E-level execs aren't doing the art direction, but art directors and getting better art directors might be.
Yeah.
And diversifying this kind of the end cam I'd like to put on this.
All I'm gonna say is, if they made a game that looked like this, if they made a game that looked like Spider-Verse, that would be insane.
I would love it.
They got to make it happen, man. That would be so awesome.
I'm down for it. I don't play Spider-Man games much, even though I like Spider-Man okay. It's just, yeah, I think it's maybe, I don't know. I think if it was like the Spider-Verse, I'd 100% play that game because I love that style. And I also like the humor. I like a lot about that universe. They're really fun.
Yeah. So how many copies do you think it would take to be a successful game?
Honestly, if these companies need to shoot for like 1 or 2 million, these AAA to be successful, I think maybe that needs to be reflective of what their budgets are. They need to take into account what their like the players expected player size for this type of game would be to buy it, and how many copies they expect to sell. But definitely not like Nier Automata has sold 9 million copies.
Yeah, I mean, Nier Automata came out in like 2017, which is I guess it was a while ago, but it's still a very good game.
It is. So I thought I haven't finished the game yet. I played through it and got to the end, and I'm like, okay, this is done. But it's not. It's not done the first time you like when you get to the credits, right? I haven't gotten past that.
Maybe it's time.
Maybe it is time. Maybe it's a good game. What the Japanese do really well is bring up these thought-provoking stories. They're like, yeah, what would it be like to be like essentially just the path or the future? Essentially, humanity's gone, and what's left is what they created, right?
Right.
It's kind of like what Nier Automata is. So,
All I'm gonna say is you should play it for sure. If you haven't played already, audience.
you're being a little quiet, so you're making me really think that I really did miss something.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, well, the first part is kind of like that, but yeah, I need to finish it. But so they were not successful. So they just broke even with 9 million units sold?
Well, I don't know when they broke even, but they did sell 9 million. So
Yeah, they had to have. There's no way that game cost more than like 50 million, 100 million to make, but who knows? I don't think Japanese games cost as much to make.
yeah. So here's a fun fact. Are you familiar with DXVK?
Yes.
So fun fact. DXVK exists because the creator wanted to play Nier Automata on Linux. But at the time, gaming on... I mean, people say Proton made Linux gaming viable. It did. But one of the reasons Proton is even viable to begin with was because of DXVK.
Mm-hmm.
Like, without DXVK, we'd still be in, like, the stone ages of Linux gaming.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I agree with like it would be a different place. We'd be years behind because, yeah, maybe Stone Age is right. Yeah. I just think about this game. I really do like. It is really a fascinating game, but it does have. It has the problem that a lot of Japanese games do, that the environment itself is very barren. And I get the world is barren as is, but it makes the game a little boring at times, even though it's a very fun game. It's interesting.
I will say, so Platinum Games did develop it, and I do think some of their other games were better on the action front of things, but I still think it's a great game that you should play. That everyone should play, to be honest.
It's fun. It's very weird. Some people are not, it has some quirky things to it, especially since the who you control is like you control multiple characters, but oftentimes
2B.
2B, yeah. It has some interesting interactions that you can do with that, and so it's fun. It's fun. I like you. I say that it's fun because I like seeing. I can't defend myself trying to think. I like seeing Easter eggs and weird stuff in games like that. It's like it reminds me of like Metal Gear Solid. There's some weird interactions you can get into with that game where you're just like, this is so quirky, but it makes it so creatively fun. And I would say Nier is like that. Like there's a couple interactions you can do with the characters.
Yeah, Yoko Taro's a madman, and here's a fun fact: he follows a lot of 2B cosplayers, and I know this because I know a couple of 2B cosplayers. He's a very, let's just say he's a very eccentric man.
To make a game like that, I believe that. I believe that. He's very eccentric.
Oh man, God bless all the 2B cosplayers out there.
Okay, cosplay is difficult. Like, anyone that's a cosplayer, like, congrats to you guys. Like, I've seen so many different cosplay players do different things, including the 2B stuff, and it's impressive.
It's very difficult too. I mean, even just
Yeah.
buying a proper cosplay costume that fits you, and the people that like sew their own costumes, I mean, that's like next level.
I don't know, can you even buy costumes properly? Like, I feel like it almost always has to be somewhat custom made,
I
even
think,
if you buy a costume and then like modify it a little bit.
yeah, I think you can buy like a 2B outfit, but I think to make it properly fit you, you might have to like customize it just a little bit,
Yeah.
or maybe have someone do it for you. I don't know, take your measurements and stuff.
One way or another, it's just not like you can go to the nearest clothing store and buy one. You have to do research. You have to do a lot of fittings and stuff like that. So, including if we're okay with it.
Yes.
Speaking of fittings and everything, Ioneo 3 allows you to also do some custom fittings for its newest device.
Oh my.
And you could play dress up, but not, I mean, that would be cool if you could actually swap out the top chassis and stuff like that better. But, well, so with Ioneo 3, they announced modules. Or at least they did the reveal of the Ioneo 3, that is. And they have modules. They have little oblong little sections in the left and right areas where they can put customized controllers or like pads and stuff like that. So they have joysticks, they have touch pads, they have D-pads, 3 different types of D-pads, I think, maybe 2 different types, including, and then they have the touch pads, like I said. And then on the right side, they have like a 6-button style. They have touch pads, they have joysticks, mix and match, and you can flip them up and down. Like it looks really cool if you like to have some say over how your controller looks and feels and functions on your handheld device. It's unique. I really like that they're doing this because I think in the world of handheld gaming, we need more unique thought, more ingenuity in this feel. So I'm really curious what your thoughts are on this HiTech. Have you seen the video or anything on this?
So I haven't seen the video. I did pull up the article that you linked, and it looks super cool. Like, it looks like they're reversible, right? Like, I see this analog thumbstick and D-pad. Yeah, you can reverse it so that the D-pad is like at the top and the stick is at the bottom, or vice versa too. I also see there's a couple of interesting ones, like a 6-button layout. You've got A, B, C, X, Y, Z, which, I mean, was that Sega Genesis almost? Sega
It made me think of I thought the Super Nintendo did this, didn't it? It had a 6-button layout. Sega had a 6-button layout. Can't remember some other.
No, the Super Nintendo had 4 buttons and the trigger.
Did it have 4?
Yeah, and the Genesis had
Okay.
6 buttons but no triggers. The Saturn had
Yes.
the Saturn had 6 buttons and a trigger, but the PlayStation had 2 sets of triggers. You know, L1, R1, L2, R2, yada yada yada. And then we have a couple of modules with what appears to be trackpads, and that is interesting because trackpads are cool and all, but I feel like 99% of like trackpad functionality is in Steam input. Like, I feel like a lot of it works well on the Steam Deck because Steam input is there to like interpret the inputs, right? Like,
Yep.
do you have an Ioneo? Like, I think they made one with trackpads, but from what I understand, the trackpads weren't very good for gaming.
The Ioneo Kun is that. It has trackpads built into it, but yeah, there's like it's useful for Windows. It is useful, but it's not what people were expecting that it'd function like the Steam Deck's trackpads, and they don't quite function the same in games. I was kind of hoping with that they were trying to get some type of Steam OS working on it, but I think with the certain announcement of a certain Lenovo Legion Go Steam version, I think the Ioneo is Steam compatible. So
I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that them doing the trackpads is just something that they can do. Like they look good. but it should be compatible with SteamOS. So if SteamOS officially is out, you should be able to get like, I don't think Ioneo 3 is betting on it because I think they want to do their own flavored of operating system. They're working on the operating system. They have that for years. But there's no reason why I think you could put SteamOS on here once it's out, and then have that, if you like the trackpads, have that capability.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a crazy thought. I am curious though. I wonder if you could take it out while the device is on. Like you like swap it out while the device is on, or like if you can't do that and you have to swap it out while like it's off or some shit like that, because that would suck. I'm just gonna say it right now, that would suck.
That would. I mean, honestly, in today's world, hot swap modules should be just fine. We'd have to learn more about this, but they could make it so it's swappable while it's running. We'll just see if they do decide that. I agree. That would be weird.
Yes.
Turn off the device to swap it out.
So on top of having modular controllers, it also has two SKUs. It has a high-end SKU with a Ryzen AI HX370 with a Radeon 890M graphics graphics chip, and they have and that one has OLED on it too. So yeah, this is going to be a super premium model.
Yeah, so the Ioneo flagships are usually around $1,000 anyways, so this will probably be like this is a bit expensive. This is for people that want a little bit more premium device. The Ioneos do feel really good actually, but their biggest downside, the Ioneo devices they usually have downward facing speakers. A lot of them do. I don't know all of them do, but I think a lot of them do, and they sound like garbage. So at least they have front facing speakers. That's a big win for me.
Oh yeah.
I will have to say the trackpads are going to be interesting because you won't have joysticks. You have to choose between trackpads or joysticks. And I would not run trackpads, but being able to swap them out would be nice. To be like, if you like playing some games with a trackpad, some games with an analog stick, that's nice that you can swap those out though.
Yeah, I just have to wonder if Ioneo is going to include a controller that has a case that has like extra space for these extra modules, because I think it would be nice to have all of my modules with me at all times instead of like forgetting my module with my, like, imagine if you brought the six button layout, but you didn't bring like a module with either the thumbstick or like a trackpad. Like, you'd be stuck playing retro games. Like, you wouldn't be able to use your right stick to do anything because you don't have one, right?
It sounds like a user problem.
It does.
No, but you're right. I think this, you just get your own case. Like my Tomtoc case. There's a Tomtoc Sling case that works great for the Steam Deck. It's the one I recommend, and it has plenty of room. Just get one of those for this. You can stick all your modules in there, and it's great. That's correct for me. It'd be nice to have it come with a case, but you know that they usually cheap out with these cases, and it's just always good to just have your own little bag. Better. Yeah, as far as that, like, it's Ioneo, the build quality is usually pretty interesting. Like, I've taken apart an Ioneo Air. I have an Ioneo Air over here. It's an OLED one, but the OLED like bleeds. It's very like, it made me not sold on OLED, meaning LCDs can look better than OLEDs at times, depending on how good the quality of the OLED is and how it's been configured and stuff. Their build quality is pretty intense though. Like, they stuff everything they can into there. There's no real open room for these devices. So, they're pretty solid. They usually feel fairly comfortable to hold. I definitely think they're good devices. My biggest gripe with Ioneo and with any of these Chinese makers is that the port is usually not the greatest.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it is what it is. Not to mention, if you ever want to get your Ioneo repaired, you have to like ship it over to China. And given the current political climate, that might be more difficult next year.
Oh God, you're right. With tariffs, I don't think tariffs are going to affect the repairability. It's going to affect actually buying this thing at a decent price. It's going to affect every device though. Every device is made in China, I believe. So, Steam Deck will probably go. A Steam Deck could get almost double in price. So,
Dude, that would be
depending on how
terrible.
it gets taxed. I don't think it's going to. I have a feeling that it's probably going to be, if you go up by 20-30%. But at the end of the day, I have a hard time believing those tariffs are going to go through. I think everyone hates them, but you never know.
Yeah, so
Um,
what I am interested in is the battery life, because the ROG Ally X is currently the one true battery king in terms of all PC handhelds. And I've done the testing myself, and it's verifiably better than the Steam Deck OLED in every way in terms of battery life.
yeah, if you stick a big battery, it's going to happen that way.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I am curious to see if this Ioneo is going to have an 80 watt hour battery, or if they're going to stick like a 40 or 50 watt hour battery.
Don't plan on this having, like, I can look at the build. Don't plan on this having probably more than 50. It'll probably have 55 to 60. I would not bet on it being an 80.
And well, one could hope. One could hope. Because
One could hope, yeah.
Because it would be kind of sick if we had this device with modular controls, but also insane battery life. Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I think you have to give and take, and looking at the, we'll see. We'll see. Their build quality, they usually sticks, like I said, their build quality is insane. Everything is kind of just configured in such a way. It's very tight fitting. And so we'll see how much room that they have in this. If they keep up with their build style.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think they could do it. But once it just comes down to the name brand. I don't think I'll buy something like this. I don't need swap. I think it's good for people probably, actually, honestly, like you, HiTech. I think you'd get a lot of use out of these modules. For me, I don't care. I want a very Steam Deck oriented or even Legion Go oriented controller set, like a traditional controller set. I don't need it for anything else.
So on the topic of the Legion Go, they're going to be at CES. We talked about this last time. And we also talked about you going to CES last time.
I've looked into it. Don't want to spend $1,000 to go to CES.
I know you don't, but guess who's going to be there?
Oh, who's going to be there?
Valve. By Valve, I mean
Yes.
EA Lucrefy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. It's making me question whether or not I'll spend $1,000, because I've been eyeing it over every day this week. I'm like,
You can meet Russ in person. You can even get a selfie with Russ as well.
I could. That'd be really exciting.
I think ETA Prime's going to be there too. I don't know what ETA Prime even looks like, to be honest. But
I could spot him from his hands. I'll be like, yeah, that's ETA Prime right there. I can see his hands.
dude, he's got the most famous hands in all of handheld YouTubers.
Pretty much. Plus, we'll see. It's just so damned expensive. If it was at least like a semi-free admission, 'cause I could pay $300 to walk the floor, and I don't like paying $300 to walk the floor, and then on top of that, a hotel room. So we'll see.
Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it is what it is. Well, you don't have to go if you don't want. I know.
I want to go. I don't want to spend the money right now.
Hey, man, you might find some cool stuff. You might even get the latest scoop on whatever the latest tech is that isn't AI.
I know. I've been wanting to go to the CES for years.
You might even see the Tesla robot and see if he's actually a robot or just a guy in a suit.
I'll push him. See if it's up correct. No, you're just making me want to go more, and we'll see. I'm not gonna make any promises, but I'll look into it some more. I think
Gotcha.
because I can really. I think you're right. I think we're going to see some Valves and more than just Lenovo Valve stuff there, but who knows? Maybe Valve will be releasing something cool there.
You can be a correspondence.
I know.
That
would be sick. That would be sick. Well, we can talk about this next week, as it will be the week before. Will it be the week before? Yeah, it will be the week before CES. So we can talk about it next week with with Gardner and see what our predictions are for CES. But for this week,
Absolutely.
let's close out these predictions with the prediction of every episode of it ending. And unfortunately, it's come to that point where we need to end this. It's gonna be one of our, putting it up, it's almost 2 hours. It's gonna be one of our shorter episodes, but it's so much fun talking about these things with you, HiTech. It sucks that Gardner's not here, and that we missed him. But at least we were able to say some of the, like, we were able to put some of the stuff he wanted to into this episode, as he made notes for us. And so next time you'll see us with hopefully a full house. Any closing remarks, HiTech?
Nothing to say at the moment right now, but I hope Gardner will show up next episode. I hope he won't have the COVID, and I hope that he'll be well enough to at least talk to us.
Yes. I think he should be, right? Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Depends. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But with that, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, you can always you can double subscribe if you're on Apple podcast, or if you're on Spotify, or if you're on YouTube, whatever. You can go and double follow, double subscribe. It helps us grow. It helps us get the word out more, and it's just fun. Like, let's get more buddies following us, and we all can be a happy team, or a happy community, that is.
Hell
And you can
yeah.
follow us also. Exactly. You can also follow us, our RSS feed, at podcast.subscribe2.me. And then we're also on the Fediverse at Off the Console Show at podcast.subscribe2me, or subscribe2.me. And hopefully we'll have that stuff in the description. And if not, let us know. Thank you guys for listening and following us to this extent. You guys are awesome.
All right. Have a good day, y'all.
Yep. Later. Peace out, guys.